Jeremiah's yoke.
And you might think that the Bible is using here a symbolic expression, but not this time. Jeremiah literally will hang on his neck a wooden yoke. Why? Let's see in the lesson.
Well, it is symbolic, even though it was for real. And this is not the only thing that Jeremiah had to embody. In the previous lessons, we saw several things that he had to experience, and they all were bringing strong messages. We're focusing on some more this week.
The prophet was denied a wife. So what? Some people will say, he's a prophet. I would say that he was denied life. He was denied future. He was denied enormous happiness, and his days were doomed in loneliness. Wasn't that exactly what Judah was supposed to experience?
It's one thing to be a prophet and have a message. But when you personally, your life, when you become the prophecy, it's another level. Jeremiah's solitary life, his staying away of the mourning and joy of his people, they had to speak about the state of the nation, about the coming of Babylon. People, do you hear me? Then the humiliating experience of putting a yoke, accepting voluntarily the oppression. This is a very important message.
And as we saw in previous chapters, Jeremiah appeared to be extremely inconvenient with his message to the king, to the officials, to all the people. Mr. Inconvenient. This time he warned the people of Judah that if they revolt against and if they plot against Babylon, then the Lord will take it as if it is against him personally. It was hard to swallow.
It's really hard if you are not conscious of your state. If you think of yourself as the chosen ones, and if your relationship with God is just about a display of power and might. When we are conscious that we are the prostitute that Hosea had to marry, then we should humbly say, yes, Lord, whatever you think is best. This is what God was looking for.
But there's also prophets who speak in the name of God about good times coming, no worries, no burdens, no yoke, Mr. Convenient. Usually they find the support of the people and the leaders. And Jeremiah prophesied the death of such a prophet, Hananiah, a false prophet. His act of lies was an obvious and considered as a rebellion against God.
Few points. Jeremiah used history and scripture to argue that his message was in accordance to what was already said. Hananiah chose the popular convenient, but he was also defiant. This wooden yoke will break it. Missing the point, shifting the focus. Oh, you break it, you get an iron one. Taking this stand against God, you are doomed. Another important point. Through history, many messages like the ones from Hananiah were proven wrong, but they didn't disappear and cause damages. They can still cause damage. This is why it's important to develop discernment for lies.
So this lesson was about two different teachings, two different messages. We saw two different prophets, two different doctrines, if you want. The question is, how do we pick and choose what to believe in? How do we pick and choose who to follow, whose ideas we want to follow? And this is what each and every one of us has to decide after reading this lesson.
Becoming one with the message was also an interesting perspective.
And do we carry a yoke too?